Last section of chapter 4, we're going to be talking about inverses of our linear functions, okay? So it's going to be a lot of solving and a lot of slope-intercept form again, okay? So again, what is slope-intercept form? Y equals mx plus b. This is going to be our friend once again, okay? We're going to start off when we're given a relation here. And we're going to write the inverse of that relation. Okay, when you're given the ordered pairs in that relation, look at what happens here. So this is our original f of x. And then this one over here is our inverse. When I put that -1 in there, that means inverse. So what do you notice changed from the original to the inverse? So this is the original, this is the inverse. What do you notice changed? They just flipped. That's it. They just flipped. Okay, so if I wrote that one, it would switch to 26 to -3. What does 211 switch to? 11, 2. What does 6 -1 switch to? -1, 6. What about that last one? 20 and -1. So when you're given the relation with ordered pairs, all you have to do is just flip the ordered pair. Okay? No signs change, it's just the order of which they come in. Okay? So if it gives us the table version, okay, I'm going to make another table. -4, 3 switches, or sorry, -4, -3 switches to what? -3, -4. -2, 0, what's that switch to?
0, -2.
0, -2. What about the other one? 4.5 and 1. Last one? 10.5 and 5. Okay, so table form, it's still flip-flopped. Ordered pair form, still flip-flopped. And no signs change, just the order of the numbers. Okay? If we were given a graph, how would we graph its inverse? Flip what?
The x and y.
The x and the y in each coordinate. Okay, so I'm going to pick this point here. What is that point right now as a coordinate?
2/1.
That's right. It's 0, 2 as a coordinate. Okay. So what would our inverse coordinate of that be? It would be 2, 0. So I'm going to go plot that. 2 zeros here. Okay, I'm going to pick another point. If I pick this one up here, what's that point as a coordinate? -1. -1, 4. What would its coordinate be? 4, -1. So I'm going to find 4, -1. And then its inverse would look something like this. Okay? All right, so it's going to end up giving us f of x equals, I'm just going to do an example, 2x minus 4. Okay, what does that f of x stand for? What also means f of x? Y. F of x is the same thing as y. Okay, they put f of x because it stands for a function, which is our linear function, but we can plug in y for that. Okay, so if it gives us f of x equals 2x minus 4, just rewrite it with y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, rewrite it with the y. That is what you're used to. Now, that is our normal slope-intercept form equation. That is our normal linear function. Okay, we want to find the inverse of that function. So to do that, we're going to start with our original. And then what you're going to do is x and y are going to switch places, just like those coordinates did. The x and y flipped. Same thing in the equation, they're going to flip and switch spots. Okay, so if they switch spots, I'm now going to have x equals 2y minus 4. Nothing switched, just the x and the y flip-flop places. Okay, Now, we want the inverse of our original equation, so what do we have to solve for? What do we have to get by itself to make it look like a linear equation?
Y.
We have to get y by itself now. Okay, so they flip-flop places. Now we have to solve for y. Okay, so what would be my first step solving for y? Add 4. So I have x plus 4 equals 2y. What do I do now? Divide by 2 to everything, right? So I have y equals 1/2 x plus 2. That right there is my inverse to my original equation. Okay, so, and it wants you to go back and write f of negative 1x equals 1/2 x plus 2. You don't have to do that. Okay, this here and this mean the same thing. Okay, so let's run through those steps again. It starts us with that f of x equation right here. What do we do first? Replace it with a y, so we have it in slope-intercept form. What do we do from there?
Switch the Y and the X.
Flip-flop spots. What else changes? Is it just that changes, or does something else change? Trick question. Don't let me trick you. They stay the same, right? No sign switches, just the x and the y flip-flop spots. Okay, and then what do you do after they flip-flop?
Try to get Y by itself.
Yep, get y by itself, solve for y, and then what's your goal after that? Right, rewrite the equation as y equals mx plus b or whatever you have, okay? So if I started with this problem right here, f of x equals negative 3x plus 27. What is my first step?
Y.
Replace y. So y equals negative 3x plus 27 because f of x also means y. Okay. Next step to find its inverse is what?
Flip them.
Flip them. So what would my equation be now?
X equals negative 3y.
Okay. Good. Flip-flop's done. What's my next step here?
Subtract 27.
Right, because what's our goal now?
To get Y by itself.
Yep. So subtract 27. So you have x minus 27 equals negative 3y. What's my last step?
Divide by negative 3.
To what? Everything, right? So I have y equals what?
Negative 3. 1 over 3.
Yep, there you go. Negative 1 over 3x plus
7. Wait, 9.
plus 9. And then am I done?
No, you have to rewrite it as that. No, you're done.
You don't have to. You can if you want to write as the inverse expression, that's fine. But how do you know that you're done?
Well, your Y by itself.
When your y is by itself and it's a new equation from your original. Okay? On this one, last one we'll do together. Okay? On your homework, it's going to ask you, there's 6 questions, it's going to ask you to graph the original and then graph the inverse. Okay, so how would we graph this original? Well, this is bothering me, so I'm going to write it this way. How would I graph this original equation? Just the easy way, y equals mx plus b. So where do I start normally if I graph it? With the b, start with the b. So we would graph 12, and then what? How do we graph the other points? Slope. Yep, rise over run. Okay, so it's going to have you graph that first, and then it wants you to graph the inverse. Well, do we know what the inverse is right now? No. How do we find the inverse? Yep, we have to do that whole process, right? So what's the first step of that process? Yep, replace. Now we flip. So x and y switch spots. So we have x equals negative 9y plus 12. What?
Minus 12.
Yep. Subtract 12, getting y by itself. So we have x minus 12 equals negative 9y. Yep, divide by negative 9. Don't leave that negative there. So we have y equals,
1 over negative 9.
yep, x plus, I'm going to reduce 4 over 3. Are we done?
Yeah.
Yes, and then it wants you to graph this. So on your graphs, you're going to have two different lines. You're going to have the original, and then you're going to have your inverse. Yeah?
Yeah.
And sometimes for your b, you will get a fraction. Just estimate where that goes on your y-axis. Okay? Questions over inverses? Okay.